Hi everyone, and welcome to the second episode of the written podcast, The Influential Wellnesspreneur. My name is Sebastian Hilbert, and I'm the Wellnesspreneur expert. I help therapists and wellness business owners to find their ideal clients online, engage them online, and live a life of purpose and joy. Today, I have one of my favorite therapists and wellnesspreneur, Harry Armytage. He's special because he does something special. People call him the learning difficulty expert. He switched seamlessly from an economist to a therapist at the age of 50, and that, from my opinion, is an achievement in itself. He helps children and adults alike to overcome learning difficulties. So, for instance, he helped an 8-year-old to get from the bottom of the lowest math class to the top of the top math class in just 1 year. And he also helped a 74-year-old to recover her ability to sing. And so she could sing again in the choir for Beethoven's Ninth at the Brisbane Concert Hall. So he serves a whole spectrum of ages, and it's really fascinating what he does. But one of the really great things that I thought Harry is so special to me about is that he really listened to his inner voice and followed the flow of life to live a life of purpose. And whether or not, that's probably still a journey for him. I'm sure you will talk about it more today. But that's a courageous and difficult choice to make. And for me, the ultimate achievement. So it's a great honor to have him here today. Welcome, Harry. How are you?
I'm good, Sebastian. Good to be here. Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking with you this afternoon.
Very good, very good. Look, my first question to you, Harry, we probably need to tell a little bit more about how you do these great things. But what most interested me is, how did you get into this?
Okay, so going back a bit earlier in my life, I worked for a department store, and I worked there because I wanted to work with the best people in the industry, and got burnt out doing that, and then resigned and worked as a sculptor and a consultant to bring up my daughter who was just born. And then I re-entered the workforce and ended up in the tropics and got a gardening, got something bit me on my leg, and I got a really nasty skin infection, which almost killed me. And that allowed me the opportunity to reevaluate what I was doing in my life, what I wanted to do in my life, what my purpose was, what my mission was in this life that I have. And I decided to change from being an economist, from managing economic graduates and producing data and all that stuff, to working with people, because that was the bit that I enjoyed, working with people. So I ended up in a clinic in Canberra and went over to the US and learned a new craft and worked with children with learning difficulties, and their mums mostly, and a few of the dads. And that's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, and what exactly do you do with those mums and children?
Well, I have a look at why they've come to me. And, the usual reason is that the mum's concerned about their performance at school, or their behaviour, at home, or their inability to make friends. But it's usually the academic stuff that's the key thing, and the other stuff is kind of clustered around that. When you dig a little bit deeper, what else? Why is that? What annoys you? And so on. And then to find out what causes that, to dig below the symptoms and find out what the causes are. And those causes can be usually multifactorial, so there's usually more than one, and it can be around a trauma in childhood, or a difficult birth, or early ear infections, or food intolerance, or maybe genetic inheritance. But we'll try and find the cause, and then offer the mum the choice to target the cause rather than the symptom. I'm not that interested in targeting the symptom. There's hundreds of people out there doing that. A dime a dozen. I'm not that interested in the dumb kids either. I'm more interested in the bright kids. My typical client is a mum who's willing to do anything for their child, who's bright, sensitive, and willing to change. So the child needs to be willing as well. If the child's stuck in a rut and not really willing to move, I'm not really the right person, because I don't want to push them too hard.
Mm.
I want to invite them down a path, invite them on a journey with me, with their mum, and I want them to be a willing passenger, a willing participant.
Yeah, very good.
So
I guess a very emotional and deep journey for the child and the mother.
Yeah, it is. And of course we have ups and downs, but they need to be willing to start the journey. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. So on that journey from an economist to a therapist that you are now, I'm sure you had some obstacles to overcome and some difficulties yourself. So could you maybe tell us a little bit more about that and how you overcame?
Yeah, well, there's the holy crap moment. I've got to reinvent myself once again. I've got to learn a new craft. I've got to learn biochem, anatomy and physiology, pathophysiology, wellness consulting, so on, blah, blah, blah. Probably the hardest thing I had to do in my life, biochem, really difficult for a 20-year-old, let alone somebody at my age. So that was really hard, just doing that by distance, probably the hardest way to learn. I picked the widest course I could find because I wanted the widest range of tools. In that, I also had to confront this thing about, am I good enough? The challenge to succeed has always been important in our family. And so having had executive stress and having failed on some level in that was something that I had to, address. Feeling like many of the people that I interact with on the internet and in my tribe and in my client base, this thing about being a little bit odd, being a bit of a round peg in a square hole. So a lot of that. Feeling a bit like I was an outsider, and this probably stems back to when I migrated from England to Australia at 13 and having to embrace a new culture and integrate in that. So that's part of my journey. But I find that lots of the people that I see with learning difficulties, share that same experience, that they feel an outsider in the playground and they have difficulty making friends. The other major challenge was to really understand that, yes, with my training, I could help anybody, actually. But in order to market what I do, I have to narrow that right down, even tighter. So not just people with learning difficulties, but I want bright kids, I want sensitive kids, and I want mums who are prepared to do anything. And that's my niche. And
why are you saying you have to narrow down the niche? Like, why do you think that's so important?
Because if somebody's looking for what I offer, if I meet them face to face, that's fine. We've got all that interaction and the intuition and all of that. That's fine. We can do that. But if they're searching on the internet, the opportunity for them to be convinced that what I offer is worth exploring, I probably got about 20 or 30 seconds. And so I actually need to hit their nail on the head. And if they're in my A group, which I've just described, then I need to be very clear about that and nothing else.
Very good.
That's why I'm more a niche.
Yeah. So did you ever had any fears about, that's what I often hear, for instance, that if I narrow, I probably going to lose a lot of business. Like I lose all the others.
Well, maybe I do, but they're not the people I really want to work with. So they can go somewhere else. That's fine.
Very good. And you had the space and the capacity to do that, like in terms of, maybe, financially, emotionally and timely, and to like, did you actually lose one?
Yeah, look, Lee, you lose clients, yeah, but are they going to be clients that I want to work with? I've been practicing for 15 years, and I've been in a place of lack and attracted clients that I shouldn't have done, and they were hard work for both of us. Wasn't full of joy, and at the end, I really shouldn't have done it. So I've learned that it's better off if I can deal with the clients that I resonate with the best, and those clients that resonate better with me, and we're going to have a better outcome and a more joyful journey. And so that's
what it's all about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Awesome.
When I go somewhere else.
Okay, awesome. So what do you think? You talked a bit about presenting yourself online, and that's what we all about. And we think how you as a therapist can really establish yourself as an expert in your field. What is the biggest challenge in terms of business development and establishing yourself as a therapist in your branch, in your...
Well, the biggest challenge is Facebook. They're constantly changing the rules. It just, they're trying to monetize their platform. They're all trying to become billionaires. So, it's quite clear late last year and then earlier this year, they changed all their paradigms so that when I put a post out where I might have got 100 people seeing it last year, now it's down to 50, unless I advertise with them. So that's really hard. It's hard because they don't publicize what they're doing. You have to find it out by chance. They're very cagey about how they change their paradigms. And so it's also lots more people in my space are doing training because they realize that conventional advertising isn't working. So print advertising is very expensive and doesn't produce comparable returns, and so we're stuck with increasingly internet advertising, and that space is now very, very competitive. And if I look at my inbox, if it's anything like the inboxes in my clients, the number of offers coming in is increasing, and so the amount of attention I'm going to pay to an individual offer is much less than it was last year or the year before and the year before that. So it's very much harder to get that 30 seconds of attention.
Yeah,
very much easier to end up in the junk folder.
Yeah, very true.
So that's the biggest challenge for me.
Yeah,
to reach
and I'm sure for many others as well. I mean, that's one thing I hope people will see with these interviews with you and others that we do. That these challenges are the same for everyone, but there are ways to overcome them. There are ways to deal with them, and I would like to ask you, Harry, as a last question actually for today, what are the 3 best pieces of advice or tips that you would give a fellow practitioner or therapist when it comes to maybe these issues that you described in your journey, or also when it comes to Facebook or your online presence or business development?
Well, the first thing is to really to be 100% yourself. And so that means you need to find your own little niche, which will be different to my little niche, so we can differentiate. We have to differentiate. We all have to be slightly different. Yes, we might have the same training. Yes, we might deliver substantially the same sorts of outcomes for clients, but we need to differentiate how we're going to do that. So we all need to be slightly different. We need to brand ourselves differently. So, David Jones and Meyer may sell you the same pair of shorts, but when you go into David Jones or Meyer, you're going to go there for different reasons and have a different experience, even though they're very similar, say for a pair of shorts.
Yeah.
In terms of my tribe online, I need to show up every day. Maybe not much is happening when I was away last week before, but I did try and show up most days. I need to show up and I need to be consistent. And the third thing is I think it's really important to do my work, to choose my work and do my work in a way that gives me joy. Otherwise, what's the point? There is no point if I don't get joy. Yeah. And hopefully clients get joy. That will be my top 3 tips.
Yeah.
Harry's top 3 tips.
Harry's top 3 tips. Love it. No, it's...
Be yourself and get the joy.
Yeah. Very good. Maybe just I mean, the last two I think are pretty clear, and I totally agree with all three of them. Absolutely. Is there something that you specifically think you do, or you think you should do to be yourself and to be authentic? And like when you present yourself in something, is there something that that you can do to get there? I think it's a difficult thing to do.
Well, you just, over life you get an experience and you get reactions to things, and some things are really hard and it's like pushing the proverbial uphill, and I've learned that those are things I shouldn't do. They don't suit my nature. So I either have to engineer them out of my life, or I have to employ somebody to do that for me. And the things that come easily, I mean, a lot of the training we get at school and a lot of the training embedded in our culture, and particularly in your culture, Sebastian, is that we need to work really hard and it's good if it's difficult. And actually, that's not right. Where we work in our talent is what flows. It's still work, but it's not impossibly hard. It's not. It has a flow about it.
Yeah.
So it's about getting in touch with the flow, and when you're in the flow, you can feel it inside. It's like a cool feeling. It feels good. You're doing work, but it feels good while you're doing the work. And it's light. It's not heavy. It's not a heavy feeling. It's a light feeling. Yeah. And so, I always make jokes with my clients and with my mothers, and some of them sound quite close to the wind. But we all have a laugh. And if they don't find me that funny, well, maybe they come to the wrong comedian,
Yeah. No, exactly right. I don't believe that. I mean, that's what it is about staying true and authentic to yourself, and that's also how you differentiate yourself. It doesn't need to be a different take on your service, but often what differentiates the different therapists or practitioners in the same field is their personality and how they connect with their clients or patients. And to find that and then being able to transfer this online or wherever you put yourself out there, that's the key. And I'm really glad you mentioned that, and I think that's what you try to do.
So that's right. I mean, if we look at our shirts, I've got a very conservative shirt compared to yours. So I'm gonna
very conservative, Harry. That's really good. Well, that was really great, Harry. Thank you so much for joining in today. It was some really great things to hear from you, and great learnings, I'm sure, for me and also for the audience. So that was really good. If anyone is interested in or in what Harry is doing, head to listenforlife.com. That's 4 as a number. So listen 4 as a number live.com, and fill out his listening scorecard to find out if Harry can actually help you and if he's the right comedian for you. Also, make sure you subscribe to our podcast down below, and we see us all next week again. Bye, Harry. Thank you so much.
See you later. Bye. That was fun.
Awesome. Bye-bye.